Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the third episode of A Guide to Poor Parenting, a podcast from me, Jason, and my best friend,
Jennifer.
Have a few drinks and talk shit. Oh, I messed that up. Well, how's it supposed to go? It's like, okay, let's try that again. A podcast with me, Jason, and my best friend,
Jennifer.
Have a few cocktails.
And talk shit about our kids.
There we go. We will eventually get this, I promise.
Maybe one day.
Who cares? This is only our third episode, so if we're messing things up, it's to be expected, as far as I'm concerned. Alrighty, so Miss Jennifer and I, when we started this podcast, we wanted to talk to other parents about how awful their children are. And I know of only one woman who knows how awful my husband is. Mm-hmm. And that is my delightful and wonderful country as a biscuit, Sandra. Miss Sandra, say hello.
Hello. And I've got to tell you right off the bat, my son was not bad.
I can attest to that.
I think this is all lies.
No, I've heard stories that he was a very obedient child, like to the point where Miss Sandra would tell him to go do something, and had that been me growing up, I would like, no, Mom, I'm not doing it. But he did it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Sandra, you raised a good one.
I know. Well, to be honest, I raised two good ones, but totally different.
Yeah. No, your children are very different, but both really sweet and wonderful.
Just not to each other.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
We're better now, but back when we were kids, we fought all the time.
Well, when they were growing up, they fought and against each other, no matter what it was. And I had hoped, I thought, well, let's get through this, and when they become adults, they'll like each other better. I'm still waiting on that.
They do like each other.
They do tolerate each other a little bit.
We just rag on each other. It's a mutual back and forth. And Dad still to this day is like, why don't you get along together? And it's like, no, this is how we react. And so we really do like each other.
Well, let's back it up just a tad.
Lies.
Lies in the alley. All right, Miss Sandra, like I said in the intro, you are my delightful mother-in-law, and I could not have asked for a better one, so thank you so much for being such a great mother.
Thank you. I love you, too.
I love you, sweetie. So let's talk about how we met. So how you met me and how you met Miss Jennifer.
Well, now, I'm a senior, so I have to think back on that.
In high school or in college?
In age. I met you through Zane. He brought you to my house.
It was pretty soon. We hadn't been dating super long, I don't think, had we?
Maybe a few months.
Yeah.
And you came to the house, was correct?
I think so. I'm a little fuzzy on it too. My memories. Zane would probably be. Zane of all of us has the best memory.
Yeah.
But
it was the old house in Ardmore.
Yeah, and I was, of course I was nervous about meeting someone. For him to bring someone for me to meet was a big deal. And so I just remember being nervous and then just not knowing what to expect.
Had he described me to you at all?
Yeah.
No.
Surprise!
No, I just knew he was bringing someone, that he really liked you, and so
Did he tell you that he was bringing a man to the house?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That
would have been a huge surprise.
Yeah. No, we had already that event had already taken place.
I got you. Okay.
In the car while I was driving.
No, we had lunch at Subway. And then we're going to town to go get something, and I was like, Mom, I got to tell you something. And she looks at me and like, do I need to pull over?
Well, it was the way you said it. You kept
and then,
like it was you were scared to tell me and all this stuff, and you were having trouble getting it out.
Yeah.
And I said, do I need to pull over? And
he's like, yep.
So I remember the spot in the road where I pulled over.
and we had a long talk.
Aw.
And Mom asked millions of questions.
Of course.
But yeah, but after that it was just smooth sailing.
It's one of the good coming out stories
That's
right
right.
there. Yeah.
Well, he was a little too old to throw out of the house.
Well, he was already out of the house.
I wouldn't have thrown him out of the house either.
Well, I know. But it does happen. It is very
Yeah.
common for kids to get thrown out. But that's all I was joking about. So let's see. That was probably... So Zane and I started dating in 12. So it was probably like... It was the first part of 12 when we started dating. So it was probably like towards the end of 12 when we met, I think. So it's been almost 10 years since we've known each other.
Wow.
Or, no, almost 9 years now. So do you remember when we first met Miss Jennifer? It's probably at our house.
I believe it was here. Jennifer, I apologize.
No worries.
We've
I don't
been
remember
around
either.
you. It's hard for me to remember exactly when I first met you.
Yeah, I don't
But it was
remember
through these guys.
either. Yes, ma'am.
You know.
I feel like I've known you forever.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember when we met.
And we've all gone on, I know, well, I mean, so for our listening audience, Zane and I and Jennifer go on vacations quite a bit together. And so do Zane and I and his mother. Well, but I have all four of us gone on a trip together?
I don't think.
Not
I
yet.
think we have.
Eventually.
We have been planning on going places,
Yeah.
but things have not worked out.
Yeah. And we actually have an Ireland trip hopefully planned next year if your dear sister can make up her mind.
Yep.
So all right. So 10 years of friendship. And how has it been having me as a son-in-law?
Well, it's been wonderful. As I said at y'all's wedding, that I'm grateful for you for loving my son
Oh.
and my son being happy, and that all mothers that I know of want their children, out of everything in life, they want them to be happy.
Yeah.
And so I'm great.
Oh, good.
With
Yeah,
that.
I've just been a delight having you as a mother-in-law because my family's all in Texas, and so having a mother figure in my life has always been important, and I always tease Zane because he never calls you very much, and I feel like I call you more than he does.
Yeah.
You call everyone more than
That's
anybody
true.
does. So.
That's very true. I'll start calling Debbie soon. All right. Well, Miss Jennifer, you want to? I think we've been talking about how we know each other. Do you want to talk about what we're drinking today?
Yes, we are drinking mimosas because we felt like since it was early in the morning that we couldn't drink some hard liquor, that we decided to do some champagne and orange juice. Yay.
Yeah, we are learning how to pace ourselves. The very first couple episodes, we had some heavy pours of whiskey and then wine, and by the end of the second episode, Mama Jason was feeling very good.
Yes, Mama was. I was fine. It was you that.
See, we have to do mimosas because I can't do the heavy liquor because I become a crying drunk. So it's not pretty.
Well, it might be comical, for the
Yeah.
listeners.
I'd love to see it. Maybe
No.
in Ireland.
No,
Yeah,
you don't.
there you go.
No, you don't. It's not
They
pretty.
have free healthcare. It'll be fine. All right. So every episode of A Guide to Poor Parenting, we want to talk about a topic to deal with parenting and how awful children are. So this episode, we thought we would talk to Miss Sandra about sibling rivalries because Jennifer and I's children, Wesley, her delightful son, and my granddaughter Kalia, are close in age. They're about... Wesley's 10 at the moment, and Kalia's 7, and they act like brother and sister.
Very much so.
You want to give the listening audience an example, Jennifer, of what we're talking about?
Well, it's just I don't like you, I like you, don't mess with that, like Wesley is protective of Kalia and Kalia is protective of Wesley, but not when they're together. It's when other kids are around that they're like, this is mine and don't mess with them.
Yeah.
But they fight and tattle so much on each other. It is the funniest thing. It's like, I'm not a tattletale, well, you are.
Yes.
Like, case in point, we went to dinner the other day, and I always tell them when we leave, don't call us unless, you got a broken bone, you're bleeding, or the house is on fire. And so Kalia calls, and it's to say, I accidentally said shut up to Wesley. And I'm like, girl, you scare us when you call us because we think it's one of the 3 things I tell you every single time we leave. And I said shut up.
That's clear.
The colors should be red and blue. Red meaning somebody's bleeding.
Right.
Blue, somebody's not breathing.
Well, and it's funny because like when we leave them, it's always my son, Justin, Kalia's uncle, who's 21 years old. And I mean, he mostly ignores them, but he's, a responsible adult. So it's never like, it's obviously never an emergency because if it was like, oh, Wesley fell on a knife.
Right.
Go get Justin.
That Kalia was holding.
Yeah. He ran to that knife 7 times.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we're getting a taste of sibling rivalry with our kids, and just because they're around each other so much. But I know you are a particular expert because my dear husband and his sweet sister Shayna could not stand each other growing up.
Oh, it was hell.
What's the age difference between Zane and Shayna first?
4, a little over
years?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Zane is
Zane's
the
oldest?
older.
Okay.
Zane is the oldest, yeah.
Okay. He looks it, so
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, the shade of it all.
He's a
I can say it. He's in the room. He's listening to this. It's not like I'm talking about him behind his back.
That's true.
This time.
Never.
So when did the antagonism begin between the two? Do you remember?
Well, let's go back to when Shayna was born. Now, Zane was 4.5, and I was in the hospital with Shayna, and his dad went to get him at his grandmother's to bring him to the hospital to see Shayna. Didn't tell her, went to the window to look at the babies, and he was supposed to pick out, who he thought was his sister. And he went to the window and he picked her out automatically. And the reason he said it was because she was the prettiest baby in there.
Aww.
And I just thought, oh, this is going to be so wonderful.
And then it was just downhill after that.
And then it was, downhill, fast pace. I think back, when she was little, we didn't cut her hair. Her hair was long and blonde and pretty. And every time someone came up to her, they'd go, oh, you've got the prettiest hair. It hasn't been cut. It is so long. I mean, it touched her butt.
Oh, wow.
And but everybody made over her hair,
Right.
and I was going to let it grow out as long as I could before I had to get it cut. And she was about between 3 and 4, and their dad and I had divorced at that time, and so they were at their dad's, and I get a call, and Zane had cut her hair. Just got the scissors and snipped her hair, a big chunk out of it.
But it wasn't like he attacked her. It was like they were playing together, if I remember the story correctly, isn't it?
Yeah, he
A
just
little bit of jealousy, too.
a little bit of jealousy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm like, I don't want the viewing audience, the listening audience, to think he held her down and attacked her or anything like that.
No, and it just really started there because she was still too little to, she still loved him.
Yeah. She didn't realize what a monster he was.
No. But he did get punished for that.
Do you remember how you punished him?
It was their dad, and I, since it happened with him, he had to punish him, and it was the old Southern ass whooping.
Picking the switch?
No,
His belt?
I think it was the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad was a belt. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
And you were you the spoon or the hand? Or do you
I was the
remember?
belt too.
you
I
belt?
got the belt when I was growing up,
Yeah.
and that you did what your parents
Yeah.
did.
And most people do.
And
yeah.
my sister now, she had the dreaded wooden spoon.
Oh, yeah. And we're talking about Miss Debbie?
Yeah, Debbie. Yeah, and her daughters, she'd get that spoon out, and you'd think, she had a whip. They behaved.
Oh yeah, I remember my grandmother. I don't know if your parents ever did this, but my grandmother would make us go pick a switch.
Now my mother and them made when I got the belt when they were with their grandmother, my mother and dad. They had to go get the switch, and I would go. We didn't have, we got the belt. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah. What did you get switched at all or spanked? Nope.
Nope. My mama whooped me one time, and I know why she whooped me, but that was a hand, and that was it.
Now, let me back up on my parents. My dad spanked me one time with his hand,
Right.
but I deserved every bit of it.
Me too.
My mother was the one that was the disciplinarian in the family, and she didn't play around.
When you and Zane's father were still together, who was the disciplinarian between y'all? Or was it pretty evenly split?
I want to say me,
Okay.
and he may say him, but I want to say it was me.
Zane, do you have an opinion?
I got equal whoopings from both of them.
Equal amount of bruises.
No, we didn't bruise.
No, I know,
Yeah, we
Sandra.
didn't
We're
bruise.
just teasing. Like I said, this is comedy.
Yeah.
We're trying to be funny. Like, we know you didn't hit your kids.
Keyword trying.
Yeah, trying to be funny. But when did they start? Like, so, we didn't notice them with Kalia and Wesley. We've noticed a lot of jealousy too. Like, they are super jealous. Like, if Kalia gives me a hug, or Kalia gives Jennifer a hug, especially as Jennifer, Wesley just comes over and desperately wants a hug. Did y'all see that much with Zane and Shayna?
I really don't recall that. I'm sure there was, but I don't. It wasn't something I would remember.
What did their rivalry? Was it mostly like Shayna just trying to be up in Zane's business and him getting sick of it?
Yeah, pretty much. His room was his
Domain.
domain.
Yeah.
He had everything sitting exactly in a certain spot. All right. If he was gone and she would sneak in his room, he would know it when he got back. Because some little something had been moved an inch, maybe, from where it was. And he would come out, "You've been in my room!" And I'd go in there, and it would be something very small that had been maybe moved an inch. But she would do that just to aggravate him.
I would too if it was still that way. I would probably do the same thing right now, even as adults.
Yeah.
Well, I will say Zane even today is still pretty territorial about his room. He doesn't even let Kalia into our room very often. Like, we'll be just laying in there listening to a podcast or something, and Kalia will knock on the door. He's like, "What do you want?" And she's like, "Can I come in?" And because I know he'll say no, so I'm like, "Yes, you can come in." Because she usually just wants to like lay between us and hang out.
Yeah.
Cuddle.
Yeah, so I'm like, "Come on, Zane, stop being a hard ass and let her come play with
My
us."
room.
So when I was gonna ask what did it ever get violent with them? Like, were they throwing punches?
Yes.
Yeah, not violent punches.
Well, yeah.
Just slapping or
Ooh.
Wrestling.
A lot of pinching.
pinching. Yeah.
So who pinched who?
Both.
Well, see, I don't know.
Oh.
But I wasn't there when it started. If you ask them, she started it, he started it, so. And then I would get angry.
Shane would try to kick me, and I'd catch her leg in midair, and she'd hop on one leg for a while, and then make her fall on the ground, and yeah. I was that brother.
But y'all, like, I got the impression y'all, Zane and Shayna were like purposely trying to irritate each other too.
Oh yeah, they were purposely.
Yeah.
Were they the "I'm not touching you" kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
One trip to Nashville, I just started dating this guy. and he had a truck, and we were going to Nashville to the Nashville flea market.
Oh, Lord.
So we're in the cab of the truck driving to Nashville. And the whole way up there, because they're sitting beside of me, or, in between. And he's looking at me. She touched me. The whole way up there. And the whole way up there, I'm going, oh, hell. We got to drive back with this. I mean, because I was trying to make a good impression with this guy,
Yeah. And he decided to bring the children along to do
Well, it was his idea.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it was his idea.
Because I
And then he
think,
quickly changed his mind, I'm sure.
because I know we'll talk
Needless
about.
to say, that relationship didn't last too long.
Because I know when talking about like dating after divorce, Jennifer's mother, after she divorced her dad, was single for a long time. Am I remembering that correct?
Nope.
No, it wasn't a long time. Oh
No,
I thought
she
it was-
met Pops quick.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yep.
But it was a while before she introduced Pops to you.
Yes, she wanted to make sure that he was going to stay and that he was good before she introduced me. And then, coolest thing ever, I probably wouldn't even do this. We met a couple of times and then she looked at me and said, "Do you like him? If you don't, he's gone." So I could have ended the relationship right then and there, but I like Pops. So I was like, okay, yeah, he's fine. And now they've been married forever, and I have a brother out of it. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, because a lot of parents don't put their kids first.
yeah,
But my mama did. My father didn't, but my mom did.
yeah,
And I think that's just the coolest thing ever.
yeah.
Yeah. You're the few times I've met them, like twice, I think I've only met them twice. They've been super sweet and loving.
They are.
But back to, did you have any? I was trying to think of another question. I'm blanking. Did you have a question?
Well, yeah, so Wesley and Kalia, they don't like each other. Like, kind of like Zane and Shayna did, but they do protect each other. Did they ever protect, like, if someone else, cousins or friends came over that was kind of same ages, and would they be like, "That's my sister, leave her alone," or "That's my brother, leave him alone"?
No,
Do you remember any of that?
no,
He's like, no,
no.
just kill her.
no. They were on their own.
I got you.
I will say, what cracks me up with Kalia and Wesley is that they will fight constantly and tattle and pick on each other. But they'll be like, can Kalia come out and play? Mm-hmm. Even though, like, a lot of times we'll come over and Jennifer will like tell Wesley to just go outside. You've been cooped up inside on a screen too long. And Wesley will come over to me. He's like, "Can you tell Kalia to come outside too?" I was like, "You don't even like her. You hate playing with her. Why do you?" I was like, "I will, but why are you doing this?" So did they ever do that? Were they ever like seek each other's company out when they were growing up?
No, not
No.
really.
No.
No. Zane was in his world,
Still am.
yeah, still is. And Shayna at first tried to, I think. And then she just saw it wasn't doing no good, so she just took the other route and just harassing him and, and stuff like that. But, I remember we were on our way to school one day, and Shayna was in the back seat and Zane was in the front with me. And she told Zane, "I love you, Zane." And he just looked at her. And she said, "See, Mama, he doesn't tell me he loves me." And I looked at him, I said, "Tell your sister you love her." And this was his response. "I love you." Oh, that was so heartfelt.
Yes.
I
can
it
feel
just
the
melts your
love.
heart.
Yeah.
Like a Hallmark card.
Yeah, it's a Hallmark card. So, they were just,
Yeah.
they had their roles. And like I said, they're two totally separate personalities.
Yeah.
And as a parent, you've got to realize every child is, whatever child you have, 1, 2, 3, whatever, each one is their own individual and their own separate personality.
Right.
And you have to respect that.
Yeah.
Whereas, Zane is more to himself. He's more of an introvert. And he's gotten better, a lot better than what he was. But Shayna was more of a in your face,
Yeah.
Type.
Shayna reminds me a bit of Kalia. Like, she's very outgoing, and I don't know if Shayna was ever as sassy as Kalia is. But
Oh, no.
oh, was she? Okay, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I only know Shayna, adult Shayna. I never met
yeah.
kid Shayna.
She was sassy, and and so I had to go from one extreme to the other, whereas Zane was more comfortable, not a social person. He was content to be
In his room.
in his room and whatever. Shayna was a social butterfly, more into things. Zane, I had to make Zane get into things.
Yeah.
And which I was determined he was going to be involved in school, because if you're involved in school, you have a reason to go to school
Yeah.
and take part. And so we went through a couple of things that I made him do that he hated.
Yeah. The
Band.
Oh, yeah. That one, I've definitely heard that story. I think my favorite one that it just kind of illustrates like the difference between Zane and I is he told me about how you forced him to go to prom, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
his senior prom.
yeah. And I really didn't want to go to mine either, but I had a friend who wanted to go, so I went. But my parents paid for it. But I was always tickled when Zane told me the story. He's like, "Yeah, my mom forced me to go, and she made me pay for it." I was like, "You are such a well-behaved child. If my mother told me I had to pay for it, I'd be like, nah." What are you gonna do to me? Especially when I was 17 or 18, I would have been like, "No, you can't make me do this." So, but the fact that he did it, I was like, "You were a very well-behaved child."
Yeah.
Because I would imagine if you told Shayna she had to do something and then pay for it, she would have been like, "No."
We would, we'd still be fighting over it.
Yes, you and your daughter are both very good grudge holders too. Miss Jennifer, do you have any questions about sibling rivalry with Sandra?
Well, I know that story time's coming up here in a little bit, and that Shayna has 2 kids of her own, but I don't remember how old Tripp and Sullivan are.
Sullivan's 12 now, isn't she?
Sullivan's 12 and Tripp is 8.
And 8.
Yeah.
So they have a 4-year difference, just like Shayna and Zane had a 4-year difference. So how are they when you have them on the sibling rivalry? Do they have one like them or not?
No, Sullivan is she looks out for Tripp.
Yeah, she's a caretaker.
She's a caretaker, they're like most children. They're have a little bit the yang and back and forth, but for the most part, they really, right now, they still play together, and
Get along really well.
Get along, yeah, and their personalities are different too, but they're a little bit more comparable than
Complete opposites, like
than
Zane
complete
and Shayna.
opposites,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
They're
they're both
adorable.
they're both pretty sociable kids too.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I think a lot of the problem for Zane is he just was introverted and in his own little world.
Yeah.
And so that was probably challenging putting up with a super sociable child like Shayna. Because it sounds like she was a lot like Kalia when she was that age.
Right.
So. And if you're hearing that in the background, my sweet husband is the remainder of the mimosas. So hopefully, we won't be completely drunk by the time we're done with this podcast.
Well, it's for me, so no, I will not be drunk.
Well, yeah, you don't get drunk. I've got a couple of hours to my improv class. I'll be.
We might have to drive you to that.
Hopefully not. Let's see. When Jennifer and I are dealing with Kalia and Wesley's rivalry, usually it's just a whole bunch of like, stop tattling on each other. We don't care. Because they just will tattle on each other. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, unless he stabbed you in the face, just leave me alone. I was like, stop being rude.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. With Jennifer, I don't know about Jennifer, but I have found when I'm dealing with it, it's like y'all just figure this out. Y'all have to be around each other. Y'all have to learn to play together. I don't want to have to settle every argument you have. I probably should be a bit more involved, but at the same time, it's like, it's always stupid things. And I'm like, no matter how much harping on it, it doesn't ever seem to make any difference. So I'm just like, y'all, if you don't want to be around each other, don't be around each other.
Right.
Or just be outside.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel about it now, Jay?
Yeah,
Or-
and they don't listen to us anyway. So even if we were to try to intervene and say, this is what you should do, they're not going to listen.
Yeah.
I think the best thing for us to do is what we've been doing, and but y'all figure it out amongst yourselves, because y'all aren't going to listen to us for one, and she ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. I'm not going to come over here anymore. So
yeah.
this is what we do every weekend. Me and Wesley are over here, so he just got to figure it out.
So how did y'all handle it? Or how did you handle it?
How did I handle
Yeah, like
Them
the
fighting.
constant fighting.
separation?
Just separation. Okay.
Separation.
Yeah. I think if Leah and Wesley lived together, it would probably work better. But like half the time, we're just trying to get them out of the house and go do something instead
Yeah.
of being in front of a screen.
Yeah.
So,
You know, Zane liked to do one thing. Shayna liked to do something else. So it wouldn't be a matter of them coming together and doing something, because their interests were totally different.
right.
But if it, got to the fussing and the fighting and the screaming and the hollering, separation.
Were they big tattlers on each other?
Somewhat, but they kept a lot to themselves. I'm sure there's a lot I don't know.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so they had to take care of themselves pretty much.
Okay. So was there only their kind of fighting only came in when it was forced interaction? It sounds like when they were forced to be in the same space together.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like they couldn't, breathe the same air. I mean, it was they just hated it, and I've realized that there's nothing I can do,
Yeah.
to change that. And like I said, just hope that when they got older, they would develop a bond, maybe.
Yeah. And it seems like they have. Like they're Zane is 44 now, about to be 45, and Shayna is 40 or 39.
She just turned 40.
She's just turned 40. But they still, like, I've only known them as they've gotten along. They just seem like my brother and I do not have a close relationship, but like Shayna and Zane do. They call each other, not like regularly,
Yeah.
but they call each other and they,
I think they've developed a kind of a respect
yeah.
for each other. That, hey, we grew up together, all this. We have similar
History.
and things like that.
We're both deciding which nursing home to send you to.
I know Shady Pines. I've heard that.
Shady
Shady
Pines.
Pines is in your
Pines.
future, Mom.
There you go.
That's where I'm putting my mama. Once I get her to sign over the money. When did it start? Like, did it get better once they moved? When Zane moved out?
It got somewhat better when he went off to college.
Oh, okay.
And then because they had that space and time between,
Yeah.
and so they maybe appreciated when the time they had together more.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's just Dr. Sandra's thinking on this.
Well, while I was away in college, tell them about what you and Shayna did while I was away.
Let's save that one for story time because
I
we
don't
still got
even-
a few more.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
What
a
do you
good.
mean? What?
Well,
Oh, well, no, let's don't talk
oh,
about
come
that.
on, that's a good story.
I have to hear this story now. There's some miming going on. I got to figure out what this is about.
I can't think of anything else. Like, I don't know.
I can tell you the time that Zane really, really hurt my feelings.
Let's save that one for story
Okay,
time. We'll get
really?
there. Yeah, since he's here.
Make him
And
guilt
he
trip him,
probably
Mama.
don't- he
Guilt
probably-
trip.
He probably
Yeah.
don't remember it.
So I guess since you are a grandmother of 4 grandchildren and have 2 great grandchildren now, what has it been like being a grandmother?
Oh, really? I don't know. No stress.
You could give them back.
I get to give them back. I get to have, they get to come. I get to do things with them, or I go and do things with them. And then to me, there's no stress. I had a lot of stress when Zane and Shayna were growing up.
Yeah.
But it's, the situation.
Trying to keep them alive and not murder them at the same time.
And trying to survive.
Yeah. Well, as a single mother, too,
Yeah.
you were... kudos to Jennifer and Miss Sandra for being single mothers and rocking it. You both did. You were doing a great job, and you did an incredible job. So, kudos to both of you.
Well, thank you. But I have my village, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without my village, Jason, Zane, everybody else, because it's rough.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you got to breathe when they went to Freddie's, to Dad's house, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, thank Jesus. But then you probably were worrying because it sounds like the bad trouble they had was at his house, cutting of the hair and all that stuff happened at the Dad's house.
I thought, it's just, things happen wherever you are,
Yeah.
so you just,
Do the
you
best
go
you-
with it.
Yeah, you do the
Go
best you
with
can.
it.
Well,
And-
go ahead.
I said, that's just one thing that you learn. You just got to, you can't fix everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lord, I tried, and to fix everything, and you can't.
So Jennifer and I always have this kind of joking. We kind of joke each other about how strict she is and how lax she thinks I am. How strict did you feel you were as a mother?
There were certain things I expected.
Right.
Most of it being behavior. I was raised where you.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. You don't argue with your parents.
You don't talk back.
Don't talk back, and don't you dare roll them eyes.
No sass.
Oh, job.
But I mean,
how did Shayna survive?
well, by the skin of her teeth. And I was on drugs.
Come on, Whitney.
Bobby Brown. Love you, Bobby.
Oh, Lord.
But it was. I forgot. I lost my train of thought here.
Well, I will say, even though I pick on him a lot, you did a really good job raising Zane.
Yeah.
He's one of my best friends.
Aww.
And I like Shayna too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only met her a handful of times, but anytime I've met her, it's like she's just so personable.
Yeah.
And just very friendly and just start talking to you and you just feel very invited. Like anytime we've had any type of lunches at your house, like the shrimp bowls and Thanksgiving meals or whatever it is, I always feel very at home, like family.
Yeah. Well,
So I know I'm like
glad.
an
We want you
outsider.
to feel that way.
Yeah, but I
We want
really
you to-
do. It's very nice.
That has been one of the nicest things about having you as a mother-in-law. You just welcome everybody in, and I try to emulate that about you. And the most favorite women in my life tend to be like that. Just welcome everybody in, and you just gotta love everybody. And so you are inspiration to me, ma'am. You got any advice for us young bloods as we're going into our third year of parenting?
Don't sweat the small stuff.
That's a good one.
Okay, Jennifer.
I like that one. I still will, but it's a good one.
Choose your battle.
Yeah. That's
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a child that's, I don't know,
Rambunctious.
I guess.
Yeah.
Choose your battle. You're not going to win the war, but choose your battle. Just win the battle.
Yeah, I've learned that a bit with Kalia. It's like, do we react to everything she does, or it's just like, okay, what hill do I want to die on?
Right.
Because otherwise,
Right.
you're going to be fighting every damn battle.
Yep.
So,
And I tried to win every battle. Just every little battle. Well, you can't. You
Yeah.
can't. You just got to pick which one means the most to you. What's more important to you.
Right.
when did you feel like that lesson sank in for you, though? Because I would imagine the battles don't really get heated until like early, like tweens.
The junior high school years were probably the worst.
Yeah.
With constant disagreements and headbutting and I'm kind of just a little bit headstrong.
What?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Sandra.
And
In Southern talk, that means a lot headstrong.
yeah,
She's a stubborn old goat.
and I'm a bitch sometimes. But no, it's just those to me those were the hardest times.
Yeah. Those were the hard. I remember God, my memory, like I got dad brain so bad. But I've always had a bad memory. But I always remember junior high because it sucks for the kids and for yourself.
And I know junior high and high school was hard for Zane. And I think a lot harder than I realized because I was tied up with doing my job at the school and everything and that's one thing that I think back and it makes me sad because it was so hard for him.
Yeah.
And
I think not to like to alleviate some of your guilt. I think no parent ever knows what their kids go through, and the kids can't ever really know what parents go through until they become parents themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, someone told me one time. Someone told me, or I read it somewhere that whatever you did to your parents as a kid, your kids will do to you when you become parents.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I was an angel, so Wesley should be an angel, right?
Sure.
Sure.
I'm trying to think. Do we have any other questions before we move on to our next segment?
Snack time.
Snack time. Jennifer, you want to tell about what snack we're having
Oh,
today?
we are having yummy strawberries to go with our mimosas because we ate a very healthy brunch this morning.
Yes, we
so
did.
We needed something light and yummy. So yay for
To
strawberries.
go with all the Prosecco we're drinking.
Yes. The dash of orange juice.
All right, so this is so we've just had snack time. So the fun segment of our the fun. Oof, good lord, the alcohol's hitting me hard. So the last segment of our episode, we always do a story time. We've had our drinks, we've had our snack time. Now we're going to have story time. Miss Sandra, you've actually told both the stories that we had talked about you telling.
Okay.
Could you tell the story about you and Shayna?
Well,
Well, she's not here if you don't feel comfortable.
no, I feel fine. She probably has a different outlook on it. We were.
Now set the stage. How old was Shayna?
I was driving, so she was probably about 15,
Okay.
14, 15, maybe somewhere in there.
Oh, this may be a different story than I was thinking.
Oh, let's see. Which one are you talking about?
Well, you tell you this, and we'll rehash it after you're done. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, if this is not the story, you can cut this out.
We'll just add more stories.
That's all right.
Is this the one you're talking about where she smarted off to me?
I mean, that's a constant thing for
mean,
Shayna, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, go ahead and tell it. Go ahead and tell it.
Yeah.
Well, she'd gotten to where she would talk back to me, have something smart to say. I mean, she hated me. I knew that. But I thought she'll get over it. But it was a constant, and I go back. We were raised. You don't disrespect your parents. You don't talk back. Well, I just had not been real strict on correcting her on it, and I told her she'd gotten real bad about talking back to me, and I told her, I said, don't talk back to me again. And once I say that's you better not.
She got the mama look.
And so we got out of the car, and we were going through the yard, off the sidewalk into the yard, going into the house, and she smarted off to me.
You remember what she said?
I have no idea.
Just remembers the reaction to it.
She just remember being pissed. That's all you remember.
And the next thing I knew we were on the ground.
Did you tackle her?
Yes.
Oh, I wish I could have been there to see that.
And we had our little neighborhood, the houses close by, and I mean, we were on the ground, and one thing that keeps going back through my head, my mother always said, "You don't fight, girls don't fight." And there I am, a grown ass woman on the ground with my daughter, and Shayna is going, "The neighbors will see. The neighbors are going to see this." And I told her, I said, "I don't give a shit. You're not going to talk back to me again."
Did you just pin her, or were you slapping her?
No, I didn't slap. I just
okay.
had her down on the ground. I didn't slap.
Did she learn her lesson?
Why, no.
Okay, well, I understand.
But that stopped it for a while.
And it's probably more the embarrassment of the neighbors seeing it than your actual reaction to it. Is probably why it stopped for a minute.
Yeah.
Just threaten her. I'll put you in front of the neighbors again.
But I mean, it was just like, before I knew it, we were on the ground. And I don't know.
Just saw that red.
My mind went,
Yeah.
And like I said, she's probably got a different variation of the story, but that's what I remember.
Well, hopefully we'll get Miss Shane on for season 2. I think we've already got season 1 planned out, but we'll see if we can get her on, because I would love to hear her perspective on her brother and her memories of being tackled by Mama.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Yeah, that
has happened to me a couple of times where it just, before I knew it, something had happened.
Oh, what was the other time?
Yeah, I want to hear about the other time.
Oh no, that's it didn't deal with children. I mean, with y'all, it dealt with something else. I was somewhere else
Okay.
So just in life,
in life.
All
where
right,
you
well,
just saw that red and you just kind of woke up and you're like,
just
"Oh,
like,
what the hell just happened?"
All right, well, after the podcast, we're done recording. I want that next story.
Well, you said you had a story about me making you cry, or
No, you didn't make me cry.
You hurt
Hurt
her
her
feelings.
feelings.
Oh no, this was another time it kind of happened before I realized it too. We after we divorced, their dad and I divorced. I lived in an apartment,
Right.
and so it was. The school was out in the country, and this is in the little town where we were living.
Right.
And so every day, before we'd leave, get your bags, make sure you got your books, make sure you got what you need, and then go to the car.
Right.
Because I had to be at school at a certain time.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, for our listening audience, Sandra spent 30 years as a teacher. How long were you a teacher
Well,
for?
at my first school, it was 25.
But as a total,
Total, it's been 36 years.
36, yeah.
Wow.
36 years.
And you were PE or
PE.
cheerleading coach, right?
Yeah, PE and health.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were actually a teacher at Zane's and Shayna's school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so you were getting the kids ready for school.
I mean, it's like an everyday thing, every morning. Make sure you got this, make sure you got that. Because several times we'd get up the road and we'd have to turn around and come back.
I think Jennifer's got a few of those stories too, where
And-
Wesley forgot something.
And that
Or I
would,
forgot something.
that would make us later get into school than what we intended. And I told him, I said, if you leave it, we're not coming back. We can't come back. So we get up the road, and Zane goes, "I forgot so-and-so." And I said, "I told you, we're not going back." And he goes, "Huh, some mother you are."
Oh, hey, verbal.
Well, and I've never slapped my kids, but I was trying not slap you in the face. I spanked you. But before I knew it, the backhand went across and popped him. And I felt so bad that I had slapped him. So we turned around and went back and got him. But it just hurt. I mean, it hurt my feelings so bad. Some mother you are.
Oh, that is
So funny.
hurt.
I could see, the funny thing is I could see Kalia doing some
Oh, yes.
shit like that.
Oh, yes.
so
And
easily.
Wesley. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
he's already said he didn't want me to adopt him many times. So.
Well, surprisingly, I don't remember that. I remember the other time you slapped me.
Oh, I slapped you again. When?
This was
It's about to be in 20 minutes.
okay. Well, it's this was around the time you taught me and Shayna the name game.
Oh.
No, Zane, Bobang, Banana, Fana, Fofane, Fee, Fi, Momang, Zane. You know, she taught us that, and of course, us being kids, we did it non-stop.
The name game is what it's
Or
called.
the name game, yes.
I think I remember the story, yeah.
And we, like, Shane and I are just doing it constantly. We're picking different things to do the song with. And one day we're in the car, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's do truck. Truck, bobuck, banana, fana, faux-fuck. And as soon as I said it, she looked at me like, swat.
Backhand across the face.
And she's like, and then like the next day, Dad comes over to the house and we have a sit down saying, like, I apologize for what I did, but don't ever do that. Don't do truck. Don't do buck.
Don't do duck.
Yeah, and don't do witch.
I will. God, I'm still cracking up about you slapping him.
That's like a knee-jerk reaction,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
You just hear your child saying "fuck" and you're like, "Oh," and then you just don't say that.
Well, not this podcast or not this episode, but I can't wait for you to tell the him scaring you story.
Oh yeah,
That'll be a fun one.
That's
Stay
a good
tuned
one.
for that
Yes.
story. Oh man, I had some good, excellent point. Now I can't think of it. Yeah, well, whatever. So, Miss Sandra, what did you think about your first podcast starring episode?
Well, I wish I could remember things a little bit clearer, you know.
Alzheimer's.
I need to get some Prevagen, take some Prevagen to get clear up my mind. But it was okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to have a good old time, have a little conversation about parenting, trying to relive some of our stories. Although the rate we're going through them, we're gonna not having them. Although we have kind of mischievous children, so
Very
I'm
much
sure
so,
we'll
yeah.
have plenty. Well, Miss Sandra, thank you so much for joining us. This
Yes.
has been the third episode of The Guide to Poor Parenting. Jennifer, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Sandra, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
All right, bye, y'all. Thanks for joining us.